Hello, everyone. Welcome to King's Talk, presented by Cap City Crown. This is Tony. With me, as always, we have John. So since the last time we've talked, the Kings have actually played 5 games. They've gone 3-2. They won 3 straight. Almost capped off a perfect road trip. Couldn't take down the Jazz without Lauri Markkanen, or Markkanen, however you say it exactly. Monte or Monty, I think it's just preference at that point.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is preference. I don't think it's Monte McNair. I'm going to stand by this.
Well, is it Markkanen or Markkanen?
I actually don't know because I was saying Laurie, and I think it's Lowry. So
Lowry?
I think it's Lowry Markkanen.
Like Kyle Lowry?
Yeah.
Lowry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lowry Markkanen. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense as Markkanen, not Markkanen.
Markkanen.
It's almost just
that sounds like another name within a name.
Yeah.
Markkanen.
What's that, Markkanen? But, yes, they didn't beat them. The Jazz, Utah. And then
they were also missing Clarkson and Sexton.
Yes, I was going to say they're missing a couple other people. They're missing, and then Monday night was against the Jazz. Tuesday night against the Celtics was just a shellac down by Boston, showing them why they, went to the finals last year and why they're one of the better teams in the NBA. Kind of like how the Bucks game was when the Kings played them, and just that experience really pushed them over the top. This one a little more so than the Bucks game because Celtics really laid it on in the second half. Yeah. But John, how's it going? 5 games since we last talked. We don't talk ever in between then. We just...
Yeah, we can't stand each other.
Yeah.
We had a divorce about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He has full custody of the children. But we make things work for the podcast, for you, the listeners.
Yes.
At home. But, I'm going to start off by saying this about the Celtics game. It felt a lot like the first Celtics game. The first time they played the Celtics was in Boston. It was Thanksgiving week.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a 3-game road trip, but 3 games in 4 nights. It was the first major East Coast trip of the season. Thanksgiving week, like I said. And then you finished it off in Boston. And it just kind of seemed like the Kings, because they ran with Boston for about 2.5 quarters in that game.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of fell apart. And that was it. Well, by golly, that kind of sounds like the other game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit. And,
no, it does.
And it's no coincidence that they were playing the second of a back-to-back after playing in Utah the night before. Totally. And then, obviously, that's not an excuse. But my point here is, from an outside perspective, wouldn't it have been great to see the Kings kind of play the Celtics with a little bit more rest?
Yeah, and even kind of going away from the Celtics, but staying on it, it's like you said, it was the second night of a back-to-back against Boston. It's like, man, you really needed to win that Utah game. It was the first night, before his Celtics back-to-back game, and they didn't have Markkanen, Sexton, or Clarkson.
Taylor Horton-Tucker, baby.
Taylor Horton-Tucker. It's such that game was frustrating. It's considering how well they were playing out of the break. They were perfect on their road trip until that point. So, I mean, it's Celtics game. I can swallow that loss for sure. It's the Celtics, but man, that Jazz game was like that first quarter was just awful, and it was just much of a factor. The Kings kind of caught up, but at the end they couldn't. And you can credit a lot of that to that bad first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, in a similar way to how Boston made the Kings pay for every mistake they made. I mean, they committed how many turnovers? And
too many. Yeah, Domas
14 for 21 points off of it, and they only, Boston only committed 5, and the Kings scored 6 off of it. And Boston took advantage of everything. I mean, I think it was really only the second quarter that they really had the offensive rebounds going. But damn, they still finished with 17 second chance points. They had 10 in the second quarter alone. And then, the Kings patched up at least on the glass a little bit. But it just seemed like they were there to make them pay. And then I guess my point here is, like, the Utah game shows that it's like, you got to come out ready to just swing right away. Because no matter how good your offense is, you see how it can get constricted. And that really like against that Jazz team, if you take away the Jazz ability to constrict the inside, because the Kings only scored 40 points in the paint, which is not good. You want to get those paint touches. You want to get those paint scores. And I think the Utah Jazz, in a way, kind of let them know that they have to come out as sharp as can be without making mistakes. Because no matter how confident you are that you can make up for those mistakes, teams like Utah are going to go ahead and still play hard and not make it easy on you. It's always going to be difficult. And then the real wake-up call is when you play a damn good team like Boston, they're not going to cut you any slack.
No.
So the Kings are getting to a point where, they kind of are, and it seems like they understand it. Like Malik Monk was like, and these teams have just been there. They understand what it takes, talking about Milwaukee and Boston specifically. And it's just like the Kings are coming to this point where they kind of know they have to play as close to perfect as possible. They've been saying it all year. They've really had the right attitude about it. But it's like, it's time to do it.
Yeah.
It's time to show up.
That Boston game, I know Boston's one of the better teams in the league, and they're an Eastern Conference team, but like that game, it made me kind of nervous going into the playoffs because regardless of what the Clippers are doing this year or, the Warriors even, it's like these are teams that we might face in the playoffs with plenty of playoff experience. And are they going to do the same thing as the Celtics did to us? Like, we have very little playoff experience. So I just like when we play these good teams, these title contending teams like the Bucks and the Celtics, it's like, they're showing us why they're favorites to win the titles. And I'm not saying the Clippers or Warriors are, but they definitely have the talent to do it. So,
yeah, I think these kind of things just remind you that it's like we keep mentioning the experience thing that's obviously going to factor in. But then there's also all these moments where the Kings are like, look at them just like respond and figure it out. And so at this point, kind of like swinging back and forth because they played so well coming out of the break. Applying themselves to the little things, probably the best stretch of basketball that they played all season, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just kind of reminded now of these last couple of games that it's just like, we really don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs. It's so hard to say.
Yeah.
I would call them a major wild card.
Yeah. They have to be. They have such a good offense, but their defense is just, it's questionable, but anything that's even generous saying, and then the lack of experience for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are they going to do?
And then kind of moving on here, the one thing is the big issue with these last two games is it's kind of the first time, at least in recent memory, that the Kings have faced offensive adversity. They kind of did it, if you recall, against the Raptors in Sacramento when the Raptors beat them at home. And they disrupted Domas. I think they were switching everything. They had just a nice mix of length out there, all five guys. 4 if you got Van Fleet out there. But, just doing a great job of just disrupting. What did Utah do? Utah played that zone. They had Walker Kessler, which I think is so ironic because I do agree with Mike Brown to a large degree that it's like shot blocking is kind of an overrated thing. But damn, when it works well, when you have the mobility and the strength and awareness, it's just kind of interesting after that game. Mike Brown, after all season, his whole career as a coach, just kind of going like, shot blocking. Just being like, he kicked our ass. Like he's 5 blocks in the game. And he just constricted the inside. And also constricting the inside was just anytime Sabonis gets in the high post or whatever, just like go at him. And you definitely saw Boston do that.
Yeah.
And Boston did it in a manner that was very similar to what Toronto did. Now, of course, it's like Sabonis still gets a triple-double and everything like that. But you can see how it totally affects the rest of the offense.
Yeah, and how many... Yeah, he had a triple-double, but, how many turnovers did he have that game?
6 or 7?
Yeah, it was,
they're
quite
racking
a few. So...
And James Ham asked, I think, Malik Monk after the Celtics game, noting this, like, you faced a zone that constricted you. You only got 40 points inside. You faced all switch everything Boston team. You only scored 109 points, 38 points inside, and never really got into they exchanged runs with the Celtics, but it still kind of felt like it was not the same thing. Nobody scored over 20 points in that Celtics game.
Yeah.
The highest score was Fox at 18. And it's just like, oh, well, you still have a chance to win. I think like you got the defensive issues. I mean, it's like that offense is so good. It's like, okay, you're still going to be kind of in it, you know? But it's like as soon as you start kind of blueprinting these kind of ways to beat the Kings, so to speak, teams are going to employ it because they're going to try different things throughout a series, throughout a 7-game series. I remember that Toronto game. There were a lot of people that are like, oh, that's it. They figured it out. And I was kind of like, yeah, maybe they did. But what team has that personnel that can do it? Like Boston does.
Yeah.
It seems like Milwaukee does. I guess an interesting question would be, what Western Conference team could disrupt the Kings in this manner? Kind of going up and down the conference. It's like, who should the Kings be worried about playing? Based on these kind of obvious glaring issues, these things that can definitely put a crack in their armor or in their sword because it's an offensive issue.
Yeah. I mean, the first team that comes up to mind is the Warriors, just because it's Golden State. I mean, smart team, smart coach, known for good defense. I don't know if they have the personnel this year to do it, maybe, per se, but yeah. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, calling the Kings a wild card. I think the defending champions going in as a potential 6 seed is a wild card for sure. The Nuggets, they have good length.
Well, yeah.
And they're also the 1st seed for a reason. And Memphis, of course.
I feel like Denver could pose issues. Would we play Denver 2 more times?
I think we end the season with Denver.
Denver, and then, you're right. That'd be fun.
And we play Golden State.
Yeah, those will be the last 2 games of the season.
Yeah.
Boy. But it's like, I don't know, can Phoenix do it? The last 2 times they played Phoenix, I feel like it's all about, can you just contain Devin Booker?
Yeah, and I think that's how Phoenix... Yeah, we haven't faced Durant. I don't think Phoenix will give us the same defensive problems.
Sure.
But, of course they're a threat with even Chris Paul on like a down year, he's aging. But it's like Durant and Booker and, Monty Williams. Phoenix has been one of the better teams in the league for the last several years. So, of course, they're a problem adding Kevin Durant. Although we haven't really seen much of Phoenix with Durant. Who knows? Maybe that can be too big of a personnel change in Phoenix for the playoffs. We're seeing that in Dallas right now.
Oh, boy. Where are they at?
8th. They're 8th in the West.
Yikes.
I think they were 4th when they got Kyrie, right?
Yeah.
When we faced off.
Yeah.
It was for like the 3rd seed. Like if they beat us.
It was like if they won those 2 games.
Yeah. And they almost did.
Yeah.
And they just dropped. They're like a game within the 3rd. Now they're the 8th. They're 36 and 36 at the time of recording.
Boy.
It's crazy.
I haven't really been able to keep tabs on that.
I don't even know what's going on.
You just like, because it's that time of year where you're just keeping an eye on the standings like every day. And it's just like, you're like, what the hell happened to Dallas?
I want to see like Kyrie's game log. Although I'm pretty sure it must be fine, right?
Yeah.
Something else must be the issue. I haven't really heard much of Doncic lately. I feel like he was getting a lot of hype. I don't know. I'm just throwing out potential issues.
Oh, Dallas? You mean Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I know the Mavericks. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic.
Let's see. Kyrie, he's putting up great numbers. He's not the issue.
I just don't.
I didn't like the fit, personally.
Yeah, I feel like anytime you
get 2 point guards.
Yeah. 2 ball
or
dominant.
Just ball dominant, whatever.
The one thing that obviously went into Kyrie is that Kyrie's played with stars before. He can play a little off ball.
Oh, Doncic has been out for the last 6 games.
Well, that might
5 games. And he missed a lot of time even in early February. That was before the Kings played him, right? He missed the first game the Kings played.
Because he was...
And we lost? First...
Remember, that was the one where the Kings just came out. I think it was the first game back at home after a while.
Yes,
and they came back and they got hit in the mouth and they just never had a chance to come back.
Because it was Don. He did miss that first game. Then he came back the second.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kings won. It was the first game between Kyrie and Doncic.
Yeah.
It was their first game together. So you can't really count those games he's missed before that because they didn't even have Kyrie then. But he has missed the last 5. But still, they've dropped pretty considerably.
Mm-hmm. But so I guess Dallas is one you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I'm not really afraid of Dallas.
But it's like you kind of look at the top of the conference, Denver, Memphis, Phoenix, and then Golden State. I don't really worry about the Clippers so much.
No, just because I feel like we've taken care of them.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't want to worry about them. It's like, man, they got Paul George and Kawhi. It's like it's hard. That's hard to ignore.
And that's the kind of matchup that on the defensive end could really screw with you.
Yeah. Unless Kessler Edwards it's just that wild card and just locks down Kawhi. I mean, he's looked good. I'm not switching topics yet, but
no.
It's it's Paul George and Kawhi, and they got Eric Gordon at the trade deadline. They got Mason Plumlee, and yeah, we beat him a couple times, but anyway, Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon. He's the player that's had the beam lit against him the most. Oh, because he was in Houston. Then he came to LA.
4 games.
I think it was
2 games.
I think it was like 6. Yeah.
Poor Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
Somebody just send him a little mini beam.
Eric Gordon, dude. I hate Eric Gordon. I hate that.
Tony has some very strong feelings about players.
Like I've never been able to stand this guy. It's like, oh my god, I hated him in Houston. He was so annoying. He's a little guy. I don't know. It's like this little guy. He's always like flopping and stuff. I feel like. But he's always trying to act tough.
But thinking about almost kind of looking in that play-in realm.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about Utah potentially. Utah's like trying to do a rebuild, right?
I remember they were like the first seed. I mean, it was back in like November, but
look at the Pelicans.
But they got Markkanen in the trade. I really wanted the Kings to go after Markkanen, whatever, like 2 years ago before he signed with the Bulls. No, he got drafted by the Bulls before he signed with the Cavs. When the Cavs were like nobodies too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go after this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they didn't. And now look at him; he's a starting all-star. Great move by the Jazz picking him up. Yeah. But the Jazz, honestly, and I hate to say it, but in that kind of playing range, like the Lakers, they've looked decent since getting Vanderbilt, Beasley, and Russell.
And they got Hachimura off the bench.
Yeah.
That is a good mix of personnel at that point. That could be disruptive, and we haven't really been able to see the Kings even play that.
No, and I don't think we will.
No.
What
about Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma City, I want to say I'm afraid of them. I feel like they have good length against the Kings. But I think we beat them like 3 times this year.
Once you get to this point in the season, it's like, oh, shoot.
I know, there's 10 games left.
No.
There's 10 games left until the Kings break the playoff drought.
That's crazy.
There's actually, the magic number actually is 4 games right now. That's what I read is between wins and losses between the Kings and the 7th seed. And 7th seed actually right now is Oklahoma City. So
look at that.
The Kings win 2 more, and the OKC or the Thunder lose 2 more. Then the Kings clinch the playoffs.
Just to go back to the first time they played OKC,
Lou Dort.
I love that name.
Is that Lou Dort? Remember when Lou Dort?
Wait, it's like Lou Gens or something.
Lou Gens Dort. Yeah.
What a name!
I remember one time when he was still on the Clippers before he got traded to OKC. Mm-hmm. He killed the Kings. I remember he's like this big, like laughing. He scored like 30 points. Say who? Lou Dort?
Lou Dort?
And they had another guy, Roddy McGruder. McGruder.
I don't honestly. That's drawing a blank.
Yeah, he's probably in OKC now, actually, as well. I think they got traded together.
But they did beat OKC in all 3.
Well,
and it's just like that inexperience. You don't want to throw that around the Kings' perspective, but in a way, aren't the Thunder a younger team?
Yeah, and honestly, thinking about it, I couldn't even name you OKC starting 5. I couldn't even name you no disrespect. It sounds like maybe I'm just blanking, but who else starts on that team other than Shea?
Giddey. Right?
Yes, Giddey. Giddey's great. Who's their center?
Dort? Didn't Dort start?
Oh, Dort, of course he does.
And then
I'm just saying that. Who's their center?
They don't have Muscala anymore.
And they traded Baisley.
Sarge is their backup 5 now.
Sarge.
Who's their starting 5? Why am
I know who's their starting 5.
I'm telling you, I'm suffering from amnesia. I don't even know how to say amnesia. People at home are like, these guys are morons.
You casuals. OKC.
I bet you don't even know what OKC stands for.
I can't believe they're in 7th place, though.
Good for them.
I know.
I dig that. I really like the Thunder and the Jazz.
I do too. I don't like the Jazz. I don't know why. But I like the Thunder.
I like Will Hardy because I feel like when the Kings were considering hiring him, I was just like, I mean, it didn't really seem to match up because just with everything getting Sabonis, it seemed like they were on the precipice of something. Whereas Will Hardy's like, we'll make the playoffs in a year or two.
Yeah.
So it just didn't match up. But it's like, if you wanted to take a chance on him, I felt like he was right up there.
Yeah.
Been interesting. He's doing a hell of a job there.
Yeah. You kind of expected it.
But I mean, like, kind of going back to what we said is we're talking about the Western Conference here. It's like everything's kind of a wild card. Like, what are these teams going to whip out on the Kings?
It's just so. I mean, the Western Conference is just so weird this year. I feel like.
Bizarre.
I mean, yeah. Well, it's just mostly in past seasons. Like the Western Conference has been just this powerhouse, and the East has always been trying to catch up. Where this year, it's like the best teams are in the East right now, from what we see in the regular season and what we've learned really since the Warriors kind of blew things up with Durant. It's like, who cares about the regular season?
Yeah.
Clippers show that by resting Kawhi and Paul George all the time. I mean, even Phoenix. I mean, Durant's hurt and stuff, but I'm pretty sure Phoenix would be a little higher in the standings if they put a little more effort into the regular season.
That's true. It's true.
And they don't care. I mean, we saw Brooklyn do it as well. They went in like the 8th seed last year, right?
Yeah.
And then they just like took care of business in the play-in. Like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like, you think we're afraid? Like, we have Durant and Kyrie.
And then they hit a wall called the Celtics.
Yeah. So, I mean, seeding does matter, but I mean, just the talent on all these teams now. It's almost like.
And these teams that you're talking about have been there before.
Exactly. These aren't new teams.
Because the question I would actually want to bring up, kind of transitioning here, because you think about the fact that the Kings were playing like 5 games in 7 nights or something.
Yeah, that's
it felt like quite a stretch of highly.
I feel like when we usually talk after a week, they've like
3 games,
3 maybe 4. We're like 5. Jeez,
shoot! I remember we were going back. It's like, oh shoot, the Chicago game would have been the last one, I guess.
Yeah,
or the first one rather. But they played a heavy stretch of games, doing the traveling, the back to back. You see it in the free throw percentage. They shot poorly at the free throw line against the Wizards. Didn't matter. And they shot poorly at the free throw line against the Celtics. Ultimately didn't matter, but still not a good look.
Mm-hmm.
I almost kind of want to say that's a little sign of you, like in maybe a broad way. It's kind of like takes a lot of focus. You take a little bit of focus off. You're not hitting your free throws. You're not taking advantage of those little things. I don't think it's implausible to say that fatigue or tired legs, whatever you want to say, can affect that. You see the frustration with the refs. I feel like that is partially warranted because Domas gets whacked around all the time. But also it's like, I'm helping my sister move and I see people get frustrated all the time. Why are they frustrated generally? They're tired. They're cranky, I feel like that kind of plays into it.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, do the Kings need to rest their players?
Man, that's a good... I don't know.
Because they seem so averse to it. Like Domas, I feel like Domas wouldn't want to do that at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of get an argument for and against. I get both of them. Because in one sense, you're like, well, if the Kings would have just rested some players against Utah, that probably would have helped their chances against Boston.
Or just rest your... or just chalk up Boston as a loss. Second night of a back-to-back against the second best team in the league, just be like... throw in the towel. Rest Fox and Domas. I think it's weird to say because the Kings, you don't really see this from a team. You don't really see rest from a team like the Kings. Not saying that like not a 3rd seed team, just like a team that hasn't been in the playoffs.
Exactly.
It's like you usually see them, like, well, as Kawhi, like we might be in the 7th seed, but it's like, it's the Clippers.
Exactly.
But the Kings still have a lot to prove. Exactly.
They haven't earned that. They really have to work into it and continue kind of prove that.
But do they? Or is that just our like old mindset?
I don't know.
And it's just like, just rest these guys. Like we're going to make the playoffs. It's a given.
It makes so much sense to just be like, fight through it because it is good for them and good for character. But after this stretch of games, I mean, you saw Utah. It's like Utah's got 3 starters out. It's like that. Not saying it's like you should have just rested so-and-so or so-and-so and whatnot and all that, but it's like that was an opportunity too.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't know. Again, it's like you see Sabonis playing with the avulsion fracture and he's getting banged around. He's got his finger wrapped up because on the other hand, right now, he's just a tough guy. It's not in his nature to take time off, but I don't know.
Yeah, they do look like they're getting a little tired out there. That's a good point. I mean, is there any games? Because I mean, I think they're trying to probably keep up with Memphis at this point.
I mean, and props to Memphis because they did not sink in any manner.
No, so they end the season.
I would beware of Memphis in the playoffs. That's a team that is together.
Suns, Jazz, Timberwolves, Trailblazers, Spurs, Pelicans, Mavs, Warriors, Nuggets. I mean, I don't really see any. I mean, the Celtics game, in hindsight, it's like you look at that game, it's like that's a good rest game. Suns, no. You got 2 days of rest. Jazz, I mean, second night of a back-to-back again. It's like you're at home. I don't know. And you're trying to fight. So I can kind of see why the Kings kept their best players out there just because – they haven't really gained any ground on Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did for a second, but now Memphis is game and a half ahead of us again?
Yeah.
So,
well, how many minutes did Fox and Sabonis play against Boston? Because maybe it could be a minutes balance thing.
Well, I think he played a ton. Yeah.
Sabonis played 38 minutes. I think.
Yeah,
because the rotations were such that they did not even touch Metu until garbage time.
Yeah.
So the only person that touched the 5 outside of Sabonis was Lyles. And Lyles had one of his worst games in recent memory.
Yeah. He was
just kind of a non-factor.
0
he had
points.
1 block.
He had 1 shot.
He only got up with 1 3-pointer. He missed it.
Sabonis
he committed a few turnovers within the span of a few minutes.
37 minutes for Sabonis. Only 29 for Fox. Fox wasn't anything special. But, I mean, they did throw the towel in pretty early.
Yeah.
For Mike Brown. 5 minutes left.
And that's why the fatigue thing definitely stands out. Because it's that definitely lends to that idea. And bringing up Fox, I feel like Fox is the one that needs the rest.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's the one running.
And I feel like lately he's been doing a lot more throughout the first 3 quarters of the game, or the first 2.5 quarters of the game. And was it against Utah? They were all because he scored 30-something points against Utah. I think he had 37.
He had 37, yeah.
But he was going into the fourth quarter with 32. And you hear Katie Christensen and Mark Jones going well, it's fourth quarter time, 32. There's still a whole quarter to play. Who knows who he's going to end up? He gets 37.
Yeah.
It's oh.
Yeah, he didn't look like fourth quarter Fox we're used to seeing.
And I think he's putting on a little bit more of a load. Because he's definitely attacking earlier, and I think it's helping. That's a good thing to see, but it's you kind of pull the covers away, and then all of a sudden your feet are bare and your feet are cold.
Yeah.
You take care of one thing, and then you got another problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea. I think it's something to consider. I think you get a playoff series or 2 or 3 or however many, God knows, I don't know, wild card situation with the Kings. You get a few playoff series under your belt. Maybe then you start kind of going into that resting mode, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because these guys are also, they're Domas is 26.
They are young guys.
And,
I mean, Barnes is the vet.
Yeah. Barnes is another interesting guy because I think he had was it the Boston game where he had 1 good quarter and then he's just kind of non-existent? That, I feel like that's a guy that earns rest.
Yeah, he only played 25 against the Celtics. I just saw, which is good. Anyone needs rest, it's Barnes. I always say, Barnes keeps his body in great shape. This dude gets tired all the time. They've always said that. I'm just this dude always hits a wall.
What's his 3-point percentage since the All-Star break? Because he was going into the All-Star break pretty solid, if I'm not mistaken.
You ask me this I know. But
I'm asking this. This is me telling you.
It up.
Look it up.
Well, yeah, sorry. You're telling me what?
Well, isn't that a sign? I mean, he was he picked up the 3-point shooting kind of in January going into February.
He was on.
And then for most of February, and then this month, I feel like he's been kind of low.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So post All-Star break. Sorry, I'm just trying to close out ads. He's shooting actually higher than pre-All-Star break by 0.01%. Sorry, 0.10%.
Really? Wait, what's the percentage?
He shot pre-All-Star 37.4, post-All-Star 37.5.
Oh,
on 0.20 tenths less, and 0.10 makes less.
Okay, so there's no difference.
He's pretty much.
So scratch what I said.
Let's see. He's pretty much the same player, scoring 0.2 more points a game, playing 0.3 more minutes.
Oh man, he's just putting that load on.
That's Barnes for you. That's why I love. That's why I love Barnes. It has the same plus minus 2.4.
Yeah. What a guy.
Yeah.
Just a steady force out there.
I love Barnes.
Even if he's not scoring, he's always doing something.
Harry Barnes, dude.
Harry Barnes. But I guess that rest thing, I guess it's just something to keep in mind. And I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that are scratching their heads like, that seems like that would be a simple fix. And I kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You take that standpoint.
No, it's true.
But, we'll have to see. It's just, this is also new for the Kings.
I know.
It's so new.
It's not, it's not often. It hasn't happened in 16 years where the Kings were four magic numbers away from making the playoffs.
For real.
So it is a weird, it's not weird. It's a new feeling for me as an adult.
I think I heard Mark Jones at the beginning of the Celtics game. The Kings are going to end 17 years of a drought.
Come on, Mark. Don't get me started.
I feel like the thing with Mark Jones is I feel like he works too hard. He has too many brain farts.
Worse than Draper?
You know what I like about Drapes? Were you watching pregame and like halftime and stuff like that? They kept showing that clip of his time in Boston when he was like playing some pickup game with like Brian Scalabrine. He tried to block Scalabrine, and he went down like the Philly fanatic.
Just ate it.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
it's funny.
How about talking about your boy Drapes and your boy Jones? How'd you like Paul Pierce the other night?
Well, personally, I love Paul. The truth, I love Paul Pierce. One of my favorite players of all time. I thought it was funny. They're like, "So, what do you like about this Kings team?" And he just says what you would expect from a national media figure. If you want to call him that. But from an outside perspective, I guess. Just like, Sabonis is a beast. He's one of the most dynamic players in the league. He's a 3-time All-Star. Fox is now an All-Star. Like as if he'd like had something to prove. As if it wasn't just like the win column thing. It's just like, no, he's really taking a step up. It was just like, I don't think you're winning points with Kings fans right now.
Yeah.
That's the truth, I'll tell you what. But I don't know. Whenever I see Paul Pierce, I just get a big old smile on my face, recalling how he got fired from ESPN or why he got fired from ESPN with his Instagram live stream.
Yes, with strippers in the background. They're in a
playing
poker
some
game.
Poker.
Playing some poker.
He was clearly
either
he was
lit or
a little bit of both, and
yes.
His eyes were pink, and I don't think he was suffering from pink eye.
Could have been with all the strippers.
Who knows, man? I don't know what they're doing. But whenever I think about Paul Pierce, it's just like, you're going to get fired. That's a damn good way to get fired, I guess.
Paul Pierce and his glasses, his big old glasses now. I don't know. He's like those square frames. Or at least when he was at ESPN. I haven't really seen him much since. He's a funny looking guy to me.
I always liked him because he was like, he's a very talented player, and he was like so good for the Celtics when the Celtics sucked. And I also liked him because he was this like kind of pudgy.
Yeah, he doesn't look like you're one of the best players in the league physically.
No, I just always liked that about him. It's kind of the same reason I like Jokic.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of
he's kind of cute.
He's like, yeah,
I want to hug him.
And almost like an underdog at that point. It's like, dang, you look like that. You're the MVP of this league.
Yeah, and I add to it the fact he got stabbed at a club.
Yes.
He
got stabbed like a bunch of times.
Yeah. Paul Pierce is great.
He's the truth.
Yeah, he is the truth.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Game of Thrones? You remember those
the Bleach Report cartoon things?
Yeah.
I remember those.
They did one with Paul Pierce. It was hilarious. It was the last episode ever. And they were trying to decide like the best player of all time, the GOAT. He's like, yeah, Paul Pierce got stabbed 21 times. And he's just like sitting there in like a wheelchair with his big old glasses. Like, I'll have to show you. And they all decided it was Paul Pierce, the greatest player ever.
Hey, man, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. But he was also, and at the end, he was also the one writing the story.
Paul.
Is that Paul? PP. But a bright spot over the last 2 losses has actually been Davion Mitchell.
Hell, since the All-Star break.
Yeah, that is true. But I think he's like he was
in terms of actually playing the role off the bench.
Yes. Yeah. Offensively.
Yeah.
He looked really good against the Celtics on Tuesday. He had that one streak.
In the second quarter, I think he scored 10 of his 13 points. Now, that does raise the issue because I think he hit like 3 shots, and then he missed 2 shots, and then he just kind of never saw him.
Yeah.
So is he? I mean, at the very gosh darn it. It's like that stands, but at the same time, a good way to look at it is there's undeniable progress in that department, and it's coming at the right time with the playoffs because that could be a huge X factor. And we kind of talked about that at the All-Star break. It's like Davion Mitchell, if he can bring that ball pressure, which is so reliable, it's always there. You combine that with a bit of an offensive threat. If he's hot, I mean, that's just all the better.
Yeah, Davion's. I mean, we've talked about it numerous times this season because he has taken such a step back on the offensive side. Just more like he's not shooting the ball, and it's something that he showed, especially at the end of last season, that he can score the ball pretty decently. So it is nice to see him at least get up shots regardless. And of course, it's nice seeing him fall in, but we kind of expected that to happen when he started putting up more shots. I think he has a really good mid-range game. He has a nice cross. I think he needs to do that way more often than take a 3-pointer. Yeah. And as we've said a million times, he is very quick to the rim. And we want to see him drive a lot more. And so it's nice to see his aggression kind of coming out.
And also, it's like what Fox said after the game, because Matt George was asking everybody about Davion Mitchell.
Matt Jorge.
Mateo Jorge.
My
guy.
ABC 10. But he was say ABC in Spanish. I took French.
Yeah, I think A, B, C. I don't know. I think that was a long freaking time
ago. And what's 10?
Diaz. I think, right? That is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, string that together now. But he was asking De'Aaron Fox about Davion Mitchell. Fox made a good point. It's like, Davion's playing mostly with Delmas. So easy to play off of. That's so you want him to be confident. You cannot let off because you're out there with such a great facilitating piece. And so all of it's there for Mitchell. I mean, I don't know. The progress is undeniable, though, and it's been a hell of a thing to watch.
Yeah, it's been nice, especially since the All-Star break, like you said. He's and coming at a right time. He's kind of need to step up in the playoffs and the offensive load, especially with Monk. I feel like Monk has been kind of streaky as of late. He's had some super good games. He's also had some games. I'm like, you see Monk miss his first 2 shots. Yeah, I'm just like, it's gonna be a long game for Monk.
I think these last 2 games have been his worst 2 games since the All-Star break because he'd been really good since the All-Star break.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if you got Davion Mitchell playing that offense, and if you can close games with Davion, if Davion's put himself into a position to close a game over Malik Monk, I think that's a good advantage.
Hey. He's a great defender.
Because one of the things is Monk has been so good at positioning and rotating, in terms of what we expected. We were coming in here and going he could be a real liability defensively because he's never really been a good defender. He's actually regarded as one of the worst defenders due to his lack of length and size and strength. I mean, he's kind of a little guy.
Yeah.
But he's done pretty well. But that size thing does come into it. And one of the things that has been such an area of focus because it's lacking right now is the lack of physicality. And so when Davion's out there, you're playing more physical. You're playing with the requisite toughness that you need to, because basketball is this fluid, quick game. You have to be strong. The physicality involved is undeniable. And so if Davion Mitchell is putting himself in the position to be part of the closing lineup, one of the 5 best players on the floor for you, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But you can say the same thing about Monk because Monk's just so hit big shots, facilitating.
That's if he's on, though. I mean, of course. I mean, if Monk's on, if it's his game, then of course.
Yeah.
But it's that by the time of the fourth quarter. Do you want Monk out there when he's, 4 for 15 tonight or whatever he shoots.
Yeah.
When he has those off nights. Those off nights. You go to off night.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, but Davion, I mean, you want to keep seeing him grow because it's like if he can come into next season, granted that nothing really changes, they don't move him or anything like that, you'd really want to expect some major steps up in terms of his role as the backup point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And
even more facilitating even.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like
I get that they don't want it from him.
Because just so much goes to Monk and Sabonis. It's just like it's almost like Davion Mitchell's the third option for facilitating.
But there's probably a reason behind that. True. Because he's not on the level of Monk.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Monk's so aggressive about getting inside.
Yeah.
He's formed such a nice duo with Sabonis. It's like you see Sabonis 2-man games with Monk, with Herter, with Fox, with Murray. You maybe want to see more with Mitchell.
Yeah. He's quick. He's a great cutter. He's a great finisher.
Mm-hmm. He's been really using that mid-range, the pull-up
that mid-range
so well lately.
Great ball handler. He's a great ball handler.
He really is.
Yeah. He gives Fox a run for his money, I think.
Mm-hmm. But Davion Mitchell, I mean, like it's kind of been one. Dave Mitchell.
Mitch.
He's just one of those guys that amidst these last 2 games, it's like, well, he's been a present.
One of those bright spots.
Yeah. Terrence Davis, too, over the last 3, because he didn't really play against Utah. Terrence Davis is also the whole thing about. It was funny because Mark Jones said it against Utah that before the Wizards game when he scored 21 points off the bench, because that was the first game where Kessler Edwards started.
Mm-hmm.
So who would be getting all the spot starts when guys were out? Terrence Davis.
Yeah.
So Terrence Davis wasn't going to get that. And Mark Jones told everybody that, I'll have to do the voice. Matthew Dellavedova gave him a checkup from the neck up. It's the phrase he used.
He said, what?
Gave him a checkup from the neck up.
Checkup from the neck up.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta be careful with that one.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave him a pep talk and kind of reminded him, like, you're still talented and all that, and it meant the world to him and all that. It was funny because in the 5 minutes of garbage time against the Celtics, you could tell that he and Katie Christensen were grasping at straws as to what to talk about. So he repeated that. But it's kind of nice to see that Terrence Davis can be revived. Because it kind of seemed like for a second they're like, oh no. It kind of seemed like he's fallen out at this point, and now he's that whole staying ready thing. What does that mean if he's going to come in and never gain a rhythm?
Terrence Davis, I mean, I'm going to miss him next year.
I don't think the Kings are going to retain him.
I mean, I bet they would be like, here's $2 million. He's trying to stay. I mean, they can't retain him.
What's he making right now? He's making like 4, isn't he?
Yeah.
He might. I don't know.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
So, I mean, I'll miss TD. I feel bad for him a little too. Because he's had bad games, but there's a lot of games you bring him in. I'm like, I trust this guy to knock threes down. Mm-hmm. Like, he needs to hit threes. And yeah, he aired one last night or on Tuesday night. And then the next shot he took, next possession, he just drained it from the same exact spot. Yeah. It's like, I love this guy. Always ready.
He plays with an aggression and a pace. Because one of the other issues that's been going on lately, Mike Brown's talking about the pace in the half court's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 people that I've really kind of been pleased with, and what does that mean? I mean, what the hell does my opinion matter? But Terrence Davis and Kessler Edwards, I think they're at least making a concerted effort. And Terrence Davis does that all the time. Mm-hmm. Gets the ball, he's driving to the rim, he's pushing it in transition and all sorts of things like that. But again, kind of sticking to the half court pace. He just is a tenacious enough player and wants to do the right thing that even if he's not scoring, it's just like, it's hard not to like him.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite players on the team from just a standpoint of just like undrafted, fought for everything he has. I don't know. Terrence Davis. That's just kind of off of Davion Mitchell. He's another guy that is worth kind of getting kudos to.
Yeah. What about you're bringing up Kessler Edwards? How have you felt about him since? I mean, we've got him, and now he kind of gave himself a role in this lineup after that Phoenix game, and obviously starting the last couple of games since Herter went down. So,
I mean, the offense is a little hit or miss. He's gotten in some foul trouble early, but other than that, he's one of the best options to put on for a different look to put on an exceptionally good score. And also one of the things he's just been so good at, I feel like he's had like 2 offensive rebounds in each of like the last several games, or he's had at least 1 offensive rebound, and he's coming close to grabbing others, and he's been really savvy on the glass. Just kind of getting down there and getting involved. And he just seems like the type of guy that, similar to Davis, it's probably because it's just like Davis isn't guaranteed a nightly rotational role. Kessler Edwards came to the Kings as the new guy that they got for free, essentially.
Yeah.
And
who'd they give up?
Oh my God. How can I forget? Davion Mitchell.
Yes.
One of the finest talents out of France.
Yes.
You think Rudy Gobert is good? Look up Davion Mitchell's
highlight reel.
Yeah, 32, I think, years old. Entering his prime.
Dave. You have 2 Daves. We could. Anyways, I feel like I just
no. But
good.
So Edwards comes in and has to like fight for a role, and so what does he do? I'm going to focus on doing what I can and doing the little things. And you kind of saw the opposite when PJ Dozier went in for that 1 second. And Kessler Edwards, I mean, even if he is getting into foul trouble, even if that 3 ball's not falling, and it was falling, was that against Boston? He had a couple early.
Kessler?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he did. Everyone was hitting him early.
Exactly.
Everyone was hitting him.
I remember Tony texted me. He's like, he didn't even miss.
Yeah.
So
the Kings.
Yeah. Evidently. But so it's nice. It's just nice having Edwards. I mean, obviously you can't wait for Herter to come back, but it's been a nice option to kind of just have, like, don't let the guy get in a rhythm first and then have to bring out Edwards. I mean, it's kind of nice to have him go out there and guard guys from the moment of tip-off.
Yeah. And
although he has gotten in a little bit of foul trouble.
He did, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that Celtics game, I feel like they were, was it against Edwards? I feel like they're giving Tatum some ticky-tack calls against Kessler and stuff. I mean, he was grabbing a little. Maybe I'm thinking about another guy. I'm thinking Davion as well.
There was one, I think, at the end of the half where I think Kessler Edwards did a pretty decent, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but Kessler Edwards did a pretty good job of moving his feet back, and they gave Tatum that and one layup.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that didn't need to be an and one.
I know.
Because I felt like Edwards did a good job of backpedaling and just kind of like keeping his hands off him. I mean, like, I'm doing this from memory. But, so I get what you're saying. It's like, you almost don't want to give him too much. And he's a young player. Kind of has to prove himself. Refs are going to kind of give you a hard time.
And he had a nice block on Tatum as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really
like Kessler.
I feel like we've really latched on to Kessler Edwards since we got him.
And hey, we needed a backup behind Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
Long, lanky, or lengthy, under contract.
Yes.
And he's a guy that I can see filling in behind Barnes. I kind of want him next year to be like what Terrence Davis was as the backup shooting guard, but now as the backup small forward. Kind of like a younger guy, and he's going to play good minutes for you. He's going to play hard basketball. Maybe better defense, obviously, but yeah, we needed that backup small forward.
Yeah, he's terrific. Mm-hmm. I think he's just, like, we were always talking about, like, man, getting that defensive wing would be so big. Like, are they going to get Thibault? All this stuff. And it's just like, Monte McNair's like, we're going to go to Goodwill. We're going to go to the bins. We're going to pick from the $1 box. And we're going to polish this sucker up. And he's going to be hella good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you can't talk about Kessler Edwards without talking about Monte McNair.
Monte McNair.
Monte.
Now I'm all confused of what I call him. Monte.
You know, like, whenever you say Monte, I always think of, like, I don't remember the guy's name, but he was like if you stayed home from school or you're home during the day and you're watching TV, like trash TV, like Jerry Springer, you always get like, I'm Monty Williams. And he's like, I'm going to help you get your money back or something like that. It's like one of those like cheesy commercials. It was like, let's see if we can scam you, giving us business. I just always think of that guy.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Well, great. That went well.
Yeah. You know, I mean, yeah, talk about him.
Nah, I got nothing to say about Monte McNair.
Oh, okay.
I think he's going to be executive of the year.
He has to.
I feel like we started that.
Yeah.
We said that like 3 weeks ago.
We started it last year.
We started it.
And McNair we trust, baby.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
Put him on a dollar bill.
Heck yeah.
But I guess to kind of, since we're talking about Davion Mitchell and Terrence Davis and Kessler Edwards and kind of taking a positive spin on things, even if he hasn't had, even if he's been kind of disrupted over the last couple of games, I think it's another opportunity to appreciate the masterful season Domantas Sabonis is having. He broke a pretty big record with his assist marker, if I'm not mistaken, Tony, right?
Yeah, he is now the third center ever to record 500 assists in a season, joining Jokic and Wilt Chamberlain. Pretty good company to be in. Second Player of the Week award, back-to-back, averaging 16 rebounds a game. I think 11 assists, 26, or I forget the points. I think it was over 20, though.
Mm-hmm.
He's just... There was this guy on Instagram. He's like, hey, you want to do a collab post? And I'm like, sure. He's like, top 10 Kings this year. And he was like, here's my list. He had Fox over Sabonis. I'm like, I love, like, here's the debate we've had all year. Mm-hmm. But it's, I think at this point, and he obviously didn't know. He wasn't like a Kings fan. But I'm like, Sabonis is the best player on this team, no doubt. Mm-hmm. I love Fox, and he's great, and he does... I always feel like when we have this debate, we're just like putting one down.
There was one time where we had it, and we just put it this way: we're like, "Who's more irreplaceable?"
Yeah, exactly. And so he's Domantas Sabonis. I mean, it seems like all year it seems like he's been almost putting up triple doubles. I'm almost amazed he's only at 12 this year. Yeah. Feels like he should be at like 30.
I know he didn't start getting triple doubles until like November, December.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and but I feel like he's had like 6 over the last 10 games.
Yes.
And in the both Player of the Week awards, he's averaged triple doubles in each one.
Yeah.
So he's Saboni baloney, dude.
He's Saboni baloney. Top 3 in his position.
Oh my God. There was a Bleacher Report article that was doing all NBA teams.
Yeah.
And the first 2 centers were Jokic and Embiid.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And the third was like Anthony Davis.
Get out of here.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
And they even had Fox in the third team All-NBA for the guard.
Like, I could see Fox being All-NBA.
But
I mean, Domantas Sabonis is undeniably All-NBA.
He's like the 6th in MVP voting.
Yeah.
Or, ladder, MVP ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. It's probably a bunch of... It's whatever.
Bleacher Report.
Yeah, Anthony Davis.
It's about as good as Cap City Crown talking about the Nuggets. Or or the Thunder.
Dude, did we even figure out the center?
Oh, gee.
David Mitchell, no? Did we even figure out the power forward?
Well, isn't it? Does Dort play the 3?
What's Giddey play?
I think it's like Giddey. Giddey's like the 2, technically.
Remember when Al Horford was on the Thunder?
How long ago was that?
Not that long ago.
Was that with like?
It was like before he came to the Celtics.
Was that with? Was you with Chris Paul?
No.
Okay.
No, was he? I don't know. Yeah, he was like a salary dump. He was like, Al Horford's on the. Anyways. Oh, he went to Philly. Remember he went to Philly after Boston? I barely remember that.
So
they had like a stacked team. Do you remember that team?
But this was like a detour in between, like 2 stints in Boston?
Yes, he went to OKC before he went to the Celtics last year.
Oh.
I think he got traded. I think it was a salary dump.
Oh.
Because he was getting paid like hell in money. Dang, I forgot. I remember how good the Sixers team was supposed to be. Sorry, just the total.
No, it's
like Ben Simmons. Who was really good that year. No, Horford, Harris, Embiid, and Thibault. Thibault's and Josh Richardson. Man, I remember that team. I'm like, dang, they're gonna go hella far. Remember even a better Sixers team. Remember that year that Kawhi hit that buzzer beater against them? And they had Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
that team was crazy.
Oh my god, that was the one that bounced.
Yeah, the one where Kawhi on the Raptors is 1 year. Dang. Anyways, I don't care about the Sixers. I actually hate the Sixers.
The Sixers?
It's the only time I'll talk them up. I hate all this. I hate the Celtics. I hated losing to the Celtics. I hated watching them. It's like, just because they're so good. Obviously, when I hate them, if they sucked, I'm like, I hated it. Mm-hmm. It's like, I hated when Marcus Smart flopped.
Marcus,
this guy was annoying. He is annoying, but it's like, God, miss a freaking shot, you know? Yeah. It's like you hate him because they're so good. But I just hate losing to them. Those Eastern Conference teams hate it.
What do you think? Can you explain it?
Why I hate them?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I just no. I
You're gonna come into my conference and beat me?
Exactly. Maybe that's it. I always hate playing on the Eastern Conference. I every now and then I don't mind like a 4:00 game, but it's like when they add up, I'm just like, oh my god, I can only take like 3 5:00 games in a row. I hate those 5:00 games.
Yeah.
Like runs during the middle of dinner.
Yeah.
And we're either eating a late dinner.
Yeah.
Like especially those 5:00 games. Yeah, I'll eat at 8 tonight.
I'll eat at 4:30. Love the early bird special.
Yeah. The 4:00 games aren't so bad. They're not terrible. At least they're over at a reasonable time. But it's like those 5 and 6 o'clock games. I mean, you're literally ending at the worst time. And you're starting. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll get off of work. And I guess I don't mind just jumping right into it. But it's like kind of your whole night at that point. At least the 7 o'clock games, it's like, I get a couple hours off of work. Let me chill. And it's like, all right, let me like shower and then get ready and watch the game. And that's the rest of my night because it goes to like 9:30 and then 10 with our posts.
Right.
I'm like, man, those.
Well, I'm imagining there's a kid in the East Coast going, like, you know what? I hate playing those Western Conference teams. Oh, those games start at 10 o'clock.
Man, I can't imagine. I know. I'm complaining about that. Like, I don't even know. I never moved to the Eastern Conference or the Eastern Conference. I've never moved to the East. That would be terrible.
Go to Hawaii at that point. You get it all.
Yeah.
You just record it, watch it, whatever you want.
Man. Yeah, I don't know. Imagine what it was like going on a West Coast road trip as a Celtics fan. It's like, what time does this game start?
Well, I'm not watching any of these.
Yeah.
I gotta work at 7 in the morning.
It's 10 o'clock.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've never understood that. It's always been crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's like, that sucks.
I remember thinking that, like, as a kid watching baseball games. Like, are any of these Mets fans actually watching this game?
Right? It's crazy.
It's going into extra innings here in San Francisco. Like, oh, man.
It's already late for me.
Yeah.
I remember one time I went to a Dodgers Giants game.
Yeah.
And it was rain delayed. And it picked up at like 11:30. I just postponed this.
Did you watch it or did you?
No, I left.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was like, they're really picking this game up. Like, I'm out of here.
What time in the season was it? Was it early or late?
I don't remember.
Because if it was later, I kind of get why they would want to.
I have a photo posted from that night, so I can tell you.
I remember you doing that because
it was like the first time me and my wife ever went to a Dodgers Giants game.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, we're coming to the Bay Area, which is where I live, and I was like, oh, that's great. You're like, yeah, it's delayed. We're just drinking.
It was September 10th.
Okay, so it was late in the season.
Yes.
And so they probably didn't want to reschedule it.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes sense. The Giants are probably out of it anyway. Oh, wait, what year was that?
17.
Oh, yeah, they were out of it.
Yeah.
But, kind of a random topic that I wanted to bring up. And maybe I'm tooting my own horn here, but after spending, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, 6-7 months listening to Mike Brown talk and the way he describes things and the language he uses, I feel like I've learned so much about basketball from him. And I feel like if I had a kid, or if I'm an uncle or whatever the deal is, or, Tony's got a kid and Tony's going to be a terrible father because he's a terrible friend to me. And, I'll coach his basketball team. I'm going to be stealing a lot of pages out of Mike Brown's book. And I think that in a way is a testament to how good he is. Here comes another topic of why Mike Brown should be coach of the year. It's just like, here's a topic of why the sky is blue. But just the fact that he is able to get everybody on the same page. And when I say everybody on the same page in terms of the language, what kind of things to focus on and all that stuff, I mean, not just the team and the staff, but, the media, the fans, it seems like everybody, if they just listen to Mike Brown, it's like, in a leadership sense, he gets everybody kind of in line there. I think that's kind of amazing because it's just like, I was just thinking about it like, man, I just feel like I know so much about it. And it's just like, he's infected everybody with this like really clear and thoughtful way of looking and analyzing the game. And I think that comes from him and his staff. But I don't know. I think when I mean, he said it a lot at the beginning of camp and throughout the season that it's like, as a coach, you're just pleased when the team starts using that language and when they want to start doing the right thing, because then that builds that trust, and that mutual trust, it just allows everything to build from there. It allows the coach to be honest with them. It allows the coach to take a step back and let guys figure it out from within. And I just think, like, I want to know what people are saying, like, that were saying about this time last year. They better not hire Mike Brown. He's a career loser. He's got 60% win percentage or something. I don't know.
Well, you said it earlier. It was like when we were playing the Jazz, and you liked Will Hardy. Will Hardy was like, maybe give it a season or two to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like, this team was built to win, mm-hmm. and Mike Brown was just the perfect guy to bring in, build that culture, build this team. Yeah, he's been the perfect fit, and he will win Coach of the Year,
no doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
Not against Joe Mazzulla Children's Theater.
Joe Mazzulla, Montana. Yeah. You know what's interesting? I was thinking about, because I was at a bar the other night and they had like NBA TV on, and Terry Stotts was like the analyst on it or whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Terry Stotts, yeah.
Like, that's another guy that had an above 500 win percentage and never really got a job in the NBA. And maybe that's fair, but I'm just like, and maybe Portland was right to kind of go like, okay, we're never going to get over the top of this guy. It's like, what the fuck has Portland done since? And like, watching Portland this year with Chauncey Billups, it's just like, is Chauncey Billups going to be there next season? Because if I was a Trailblazers fan, I'd be like, get rid of this guy. You're wasting one of the better point guards of his generation.
No, don't get me started.
I'm getting you started.
On the Trailblazers. Don't get me started on wasting Lillard's wasting his own time staying in Portland. Okay, fine, be loyal, whatever, but enjoy like never winning a championship. He had this quote the other, oh man, what did he say? It was more like, my haters better pray that I don't ever win a championship. And like all the comments were, it's like, bro, I don't gotta pray. Like, everyone was, it's like, dude, you're clearly not gonna win a championship there. I mean, it's almost like Rodgers in Green Bay after a certain time. Yeah, he won one, but it's like the last 10 years, it's like, what have they done for you? Gotten you no help? Like, it's just you. You're trying to lead them. It's like, just leave at this point. Like, I get the loyalty aspect for sure, but it's like, I don't feel bad for you anymore. Like, I felt kind of bad. It's like, you had a good team. You had LaMarcus Aldridge and Nick Batum and Wesley Matthews and Greg Oden or whatever, Robin Lopez, whoever their center was. But it's like, yeah, and then they all left, and then you're like, okay, still leading this team to the playoffs, one of the best point guards in the game, and he still is, but it's like, okay, we're waiting.
Well, they got Cam Reddish, right?
Did they?
Yeah.
No.
Or who was that then?
They got Cam Reddish, but
when they got Reddish, my point is just like, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, they didn't, like, Thibault comes to the Kings. That's a huge move. Like, Thibault going to the Portland Trailblazers, like, they're not fixing with your problem.
I saw that because
they got rid of like Josh Hart and stuff, and I'm just like,
Josh
Hart's so good.
Why did they get rid of Josh Hart?
I have no idea. I think I don't know. I have no idea.
Didn't they trade? Who had Gary Trent Jr.? Was it them?
I don't know.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't understand. I think I don't know. Portland is
great town, great fan base. All you can do is go, okay.
Yeah, it's just there's a point where I'm like, just have fun up there. It's that team. As long as they have Lillard, they're not going to go anywhere.
I know. What a disappointing season. They were really good to start.
Yeah, they beat the Kings.
Beat the Kings on opening night. They looked really good.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant.
Yusuf Nurkic, like, is he good or not?
I don't know. Like, with big guys like that, I'm like, I don't know.
I don't either. I'm like,
know.
They hyped him up so much. I remember they first got him. And
it's like Zubac in fucking Los Angeles. I'm just like, you need him? I think Plumlee's better.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't either.
We're not paid to make these decisions. Although, Portland Trailblazers, you can give us a call. We would totally work as the GM and assistant GM for you guys for a fraction of whatever you're paying.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do a better job.
Exactly.
We're going to fire Chauncey Billups.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chauncey. Great player. But I don't know about you.
Big shot Bill.
That is...
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Big shot Bill.
Billups.
Chauncey
Billups.
But what else we got?
That's kind of it. I mean, like, it was a incongruent week in terms of topics because it just felt like with the 5 games and it's such a was it 5 games, right?
Yeah,
like the span
3 and
of
2
week is just like
it was 5 games in 7 nights. I thought 3 and 4 was bad, but shoot, 5 and 7.
Yeah,
no one. I mean, that's like the and going back. Like, you should have just rested everyone against Boston.
Maybe all right. Or
at home though. At home,
I feel like that's such a big game. You don't really want to rest, so it's like that Utah game presented that perfect opportunity, you know. But then even at that point, it's like you're still going to be flying on the plane, getting in at 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
I guess I don't know.
Yeah, well,
2 days off would be really good for them.
Yeah,
I I don't know how much you could take their word for it, but I guess like Malik Monk was and Mike Brown were saying like this is just a good learning experience at this point,
mm-hmm.
and it always is. But can you apply the most perfect possible basketball that you can play for 48 minutes? Because the Kings have not been doing that these last couple of games, and I don't put it past them that they're tired, but 10 games left.
10 games left, and they're only going to get more tired. I mean, they're going to be in the postseason. It's called, postseason for a reason.
Extra. It's overtime, baby.
Exactly. So hopefully they can get their legs back under them. And 10 games left. Magic number at 4. Well, I mean, hopefully by the next time we talk, they have officially ended the playoff drought. Even though Basketball Reference gave them a 100% chance of making the playoffs, which seems a little risky considering they haven't clinched. What if they just never won again?
Yeah, what if they lose every game and like everybody that needs to win wins every game?
Yeah. So we'll see. Anything's possible. But I think by the next time we speak,
I feel like we sound like Katie Christensen and Mark Jones in garbage time that Celtics game.
Yeah.
Just trying to find ways to just stay tuned.
Exactly.
Trying to keep the intrigue up here.
Suns on Friday. Jazz again on Saturday, this time at home, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then they'll play Minnesota on Monday, and then we'll be talking to you guys.
And then we'll be talking to you. So only 3 games this time.
Thank God.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see if they can clinch it before then. But John, anything to wrap it up?
No. I guess the one takeaway here is just the Kings just kind of remain a wild card in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though of all the negative stuff that have happened over the last week, which isn't a ton, it's more recent than anything. You don't want to write them off, but then still all the good play that they've had since the All-Star break, you don't want to just lean your hat on that. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
And these final 10 games will be telling in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting.
It'll be interesting. Well, we appreciate you all for tuning in, and until next time, have a good one.